Good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to today's Board of Curators meeting, including those joining us via live stream. We're only going to be in here a few minutes, so we won't worry about you all muting. But please, if you're speaking, stay close to the mic. I'd now like to ask Curator Fry to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
If veterans could salute the flag during the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Curator Fry. As we begin our meeting today, I want to share our board values that we passed 2 years ago to guide members in the governance of the University of Missouri pursuant to the Constitution and the revised statutes of the state of Missouri. Trustworthy and transparent communication, respect of each other and all university stakeholders, healthy board governance, support and hold accountable leadership, and strategic vision. These values are at the beginning of all board materials and are the foundation of our interactions with each other and with all of our constituencies. Our first item of business today is to approve a resolution to move into executive session this morning. May I have a motion and a second from the board to move into executive session?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Valerie, please call the roll of the board.
Curator Blitz?
Yes.
Curator Fry?
Yes.
Curator Graves?
Yes.
Curator Holloway?
Yes.
Curator Cruzen?
Yes.
Curator Lehman?
Yes.
Curator Sinkfield?
Yes.
Curator Winokur?
Yes.
Curator Williams is absent. You have all votes in favor.
Thank you. The motion carries. Curator Holloway, I now turn it over to you for the Audit, Compliance, and Ethics Committee.
Thank you, Chairwoman. The Audit, Compliance, and Ethics Committee has one action item today to move into an executive session this morning. May I have a motion from the committee for an executive session for the Audit, Compliance, and Ethics Committee?
So moved.
So moved.
We have a motion?
And second.
Yes, and second.
Okay, Valerie, will you call a roll of their committee?
Curator Holloway?
Yes.
Curator Cruzen?
Yes.
Curator Sinkfield?
Yes.
And Curator Williams is absent. You have all votes in favor.
Thank you. The board will now move into executive session, room 402 of the Student Union. We'll reconvene in public session later this afternoon. Thank you so much. Welcome back to the public session of the Board of Curators here at UMKC. I'm going to start with some comments, and then we'll switch to President Choi. We apologize for those of you who are waiting on us, but we'll jump right in. Good afternoon. Thank you, Chancellor Agarwal and your team here at UMKC for hosting us today. Meetings like this are important because they give us the chance to mark progress we have made, to mark the progress we have made and refocus on the outcomes we're pursuing together. The time the board members have given to serve this great university is valuable, and I'm proud to say with our administration, we have much to show for our efforts. Whether you look at our accomplishments on the field of play, in the laboratories, in our clinics, or the accomplishments of today's award winners, we bear witness to something truly special. As you learn about each of today's award winners, I hope you will view them in the context of a transformative season in the life of each university and our system. They represent the best of who we are as we represent the best of this great state. Today I have the honor of recognizing our Remington R. Williams Award recipient from UMKC. As many may remember, Remington, our late student representative to the board, exemplified servant leadership. He was deeply invested in improving student communities for all 4 universities. He did this while maintaining a stellar academic record, which is impressive. Each recipient exemplifies the qualities that we admired about Remington, which prompted the creation of this award. This award includes $1,000 as well as a medal designed by 2 MU students. The Board of Curators is honored to recognize this year's UMKC Remington R. Williams Award recipient, Rithika Jinjupalli. Rithika, an MD candidate in the School of Medicine, isn't able to join us today. She is the executive director of the UMKC Community Health Fair and serves as the congressional lead for her district with the American Cancer Society. Today, Rithika is lobbying in Washington, D.C., making a real difference through her student experience, a testament to why she received this award. We send our congratulations to Rithika. I'd next like to recognize the Curators Distinguished Professors from UMKC. Honoring our faculty with this distinction is the highest honor the board awards. It allows us to recognize those celebrated professors for contributing to the growth of their respective fields. We also recognize them for their outstanding scholarship, over the course of their careers and during their time at UMKC. And it signals to others that the UM system is a powerhouse, drawing the top professors from around the world to our universities. We are pleased to induct 3 individuals into this illustrious group. Our first honoree is Dr. Simon Friedman from the School of Pharmacy. I believe he's here. Dr. Friedman's research includes developing strategies to enable insulin delivery through light. He has received $4 million in grants from the National Institutes of Health and the National Science Foundation. Congratulations, Dr. Friedman. Chancellor, do you want to join us? Get on this side. Where's best for us to stand, sir?
Right there.
Right here? Okay. Okay.
The mic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Always good. Thank you. Appreciate it. You guys, thank you. Okay. Our next honor is Dr. Clancy Martin from the School of Humanities and Social Sciences. He is not able to join us. Dr. Martin's writing focuses on 19th century philosophy, existentialism, moral psychology, and applied ethics. His work has been featured in the New Yorker, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Ethics, Vice, CBS Sunday Morning, NPR, and more. We congratulate Dr. Martin. And finally, from the School of Dentistry, I'd like to recognize Dr. Yang Wang, and I'm not sure that he is here. I believe he is not. Thank you. Dr. Wang's research focuses on biomaterials and their application in calcified tissues. He has received over $17.5 million in external funding, including nearly $11 million as PI, primary investigator, or co-PI. His research has been continuously funded by the National Institutes of Health for more than 20 years. We congratulate Dr. Wang. So congratulations to all 3 of our Curators Distinguished Professors. It was great to bring the University of Missouri to Greene County this past June. Springfield was very welcoming to us, as it always has been. Community members shared with board members and administrators, including the athletic department, how much they appreciated our presence in the Southwest region and look forward to seeing us there more. We're able to more directly see the impact of all 4 of our universities in the region and throughout our state. Thank you to everyone who made our time in Springfield meaningful. At the beginning of the year, the board shared it would look at its own operations. We have now completed our governance study. This review process reinforces the Board of Curators' commitment to continuous improvements as stewards of the UM system on behalf of the state of Missouri. To enhance operations, we looked at board operations, including committees and meetings, quality and timing of information to maximize board time and deliberations, delegation of authority and balance between the role of the board and management, board offices and related resourcing, performance management and accountability structures, including tangible performance metrics, and best practices in higher education. The ability to better ourselves make sure this board, as fiduciaries, continues to modernize its own practices for a firm foundation and organizational structure that guarantees long-term sustainability and success for the university system. When sharing our plans to do such a study, the governor's office was enthusiastic and said, "Plan aggressively for the future. You must push forward. This is the type of project that is important to the health of the organization, and it will expand the capacity of the university system as well as the board." Thought wise words. The plan focused its recommendations on strategy, resources, and leadership, our own and the administration's. The board must be visionaries, guardians, and strategists as we shepherd the UM system in collaboration with our administration into its next chapter. Thank you to all who participated in the governance study. Ready for the next slide? With the fall semester well underway, there's a sense of excitement across the UM system. Much of that comes from our students being back. They're our North Star, and they always bring such great energy to our campuses. And our faculty, staff, and administration bring great energy to our universities as well. They are the constants, the driving forces for the University of Missouri system success. And the energy always comes back to momentum. The system-wide momentum will carry us further for success and excellence. As a favorite alumnus of mine and longtime family friend John Qualley said over the weekend, don't hesitate to use the word momentum. When you don't have it, you can't say it. We have it, and we should celebrate it. As we look across all of our universities, this momentum allows us to focus on the future and set a high bar that is aspirational but also achievable. It is felt across all of our campuses and throughout our state. The following slides will showcase highlights of the system. Yesterday afternoon, we celebrated the groundbreaking of the new Healthcare Delivery and Innovation Building. This is the largest capital improvement project in UMKC's history. The building will house multiple UMKC health science programs, research space, and learning labs. Recently, Missouri S&T completed the program and planning study for the Bioplex. Like the HDI building here at UMKC, the Bioplex represents the largest capital project in S&T's history. Hearing a theme. UMSL we're going to switch to UMSL now. UMSL has several ongoing infrastructure projects, such as, as part of their Transform UMSL initiative. This includes the creation of a North Campus Academic Core, campus libraries renovation, and a new North St. Louis County Business and Workforce District. MU Healthcare completed its largest growth in patient volume in its history this past year, with greater expectations for this next year. In the last year, MUHC has not only opened the MU Children's Hospital, but has also integrated CAP Region Medical Clinics, which includes the hospital, 30 clinics, 150 providers, and over 1,400 employees into its operation. Additionally, MU Healthcare treated its first bone marrow transplant patient a few months ago and administered their first CAR-T therapy, a precision medicine cancer immunotherapy, to its first patient in the last few weeks. And last month, Extension organized the university's engagement at the Missouri State Fair. Both Mizzou and S&T were grand champion sponsors. Our booths showcase the ways we support and provide for the state. We also appreciate both MU Extension and Mizzou's College of Agriculture, Food, and Natural Resources hosting field days like the Graves Chapel and Fisher Delta events. These gatherings across the state focus on new agricultural technologies and crop management. The Morrill Stadium Improvement Project is set to be the largest capital project in Mizzou's history. We will hear later in the meeting about Mizzou Athletics from our Director of Athletics, Laird Beach, and special guest, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey. And Mizzou celebrated one of its largest classes in recent years. President Choi will share more about how Mizzou is achieving excellence in his report this morning and during his State of the University address on September 25th. As I've said all year, we are Missouri and Missouri is us. Along with that recognition comes a great responsibility that each of us bears to expect the best of ourselves and our university. It's what our students and their families deserve, what our faculty and staff deserve, and what our state deserves. As we continue to elevate our expectations for ourselves and our university, we must believe that we can achieve at the highest possible levels. The time for modesty is past. Today's award winners are proof of that truth. We have been getting better every day, and we're determined to keep doing that. That's our Missouri way. President Choi, I turn it over to you.
Thank you very much for that report. And yes, I do agree. We have a lot of momentum at all four universities. So let me begin by sharing the exciting news that we have more than 17,000 new students that joined our university. The brand is strong, it's getting stronger. Students and their parents recognize the high quality, affordable education that we provide, and we are very happy to provide that training so that they become productive citizens after graduating. So let's take a look at some of the first-time college enrollment at all four universities, and that last column in 2024 is shown in blue, which means that we've had an increase compared to last year, and the percentage of increase is shown below. This is very, very promising, given the fact that demographics of other state universities in the state have shown significant declines over the past 5 years. In terms of transfer enrollment, we did see an increase at Mizzou and UMKC and slight reductions at UMSL and S&T, but those two universities have leaders that know that we need to continue to increase the articulation agreements with community colleges so that we are seen as a viable next chapter for some of these students graduating from the 18 community colleges in the state of Missouri. We have other positive news. This is early, it's early, but if we compare the applications for fall of 2024, point in time, with the applications for fall 2025, at every one of our universities, we are seeing an increase. And at Mizzou, it's a 38% increase. And being 2-0 in football and ranked number 6 helps tremendously. And we know that after looking into our educational opportunities, students and their parents really see incredible values at all 4 universities. Our retention rates over the past several years have also gone up dramatically. And if we look at the retention rates at Mizzou, we went up 1.3%. I'm going to round that up to 93%. And 93% is Purdue territory, and we set that as our North Star several years ago. We want to continue to increase first-year retention at all 4 universities. What you see in the parentheses below are the number of additional students that we retain to get that increase compared to the prior year. While we look at statistics, it's really important to know that every student's success contributes or takes away from the student's success, and that's what this reflects. Now, we have some work to do. This year, we've seen a reduction in graduation rate at Mizzou. And we went from 76.2% in graduation to 74.8%. Now, there are many reasons why this is happening. We're not the only ones seeing this. Having gone through the pandemic and so forth with uncertainties about Pell, all of these are excuses. What it means is that we had at Mizzou 56 students that didn't graduate in the 6-year time frame, that had they graduated, we would have maintained 76.2% graduation rate. So we have some work to do, and we're monitoring retention rate, second to third year, third to fourth year, graduation rate, 5th year, and 6th year. Our projections show that next year we're going to be back on track, but it is something that we have to be aware of and to address going forward. Any questions on this slide? Okay. We also saw reductions in the Pell. I mean, it goes hand in hand in terms of our graduation rates. So at Mizzou, if we had graduated 30 more students during that time period, we would be at 67.2%. And those numbers, as you can see, I mean, look at S&T. If they had 8 more students graduate, they would be at 51.4%. So we have to take the success of every student seriously and help support their journey through the years. But I am confident that next year we are going to be back on track for our university. So we will continue to measure this and keep you aware of the progress. Student success highlights. We have students that are studying business to engineering to journalism, and they are doing great things. One of the hardest things that we have to do in getting ready for this meeting is how do we take all of the entries and then identify one student per campus? And so that's a hard thing to do, not only for our students, but also for faculty recognition. I do want to recognize Genesis Ventura Amaro, who is here. Genesis, may I ask if you can stand? She received the Milken Teacher Leader of Tomorrow Award, and her nominator talked about her deep commitment to ensuring the success of each child that she has the privilege, she said privilege, of teaching. And she has done that through the school system here as part of her student training. But now, after having graduated from UMKC, she's now working at Mizzou. She brought her talents to Mizzou to help students in the mid-Missouri area. So Genesis, congratulations, and thank you for your many contributions. We need more teachers like you. Thank you. At all 4 universities, we are hiring. This is not the case. There are many universities, public universities, that are shedding tenured faculty positions. We have managed our finances well, even during the pandemic, and the chancellors and the CFOs and the provosts have reallocated the resources to invest in what is most important, the one constant, and that is our faculty. So this shows you the number of faculty members broken down by tenure track, and as you can see, it is a solid number of faculty hires, and I do want to mention the first person that you see on there. You're not watching SportsCenter. That's actually John Anderson. He's going to be teaching our sports media students beginning in January. Faculty success highlights. We have faculty members that are studying the classics, like Dr. Cosmopoulos, as well as our dean. Our deans are accomplished faculty members that are getting recognition through the work that they do. And I want to share with you that Dr. Anthony Caruso, who unfortunately is not here today, is from UMKC and serves in a leadership position, has been selected to lead a joint program funded by NSF, National Science Foundation, working with Mizzou and UMKC to develop what is called the Secure Midwest Center to ensure that our research that we do for national security is secure. One thing we can't have is our cybersecurity, AI, biotechnology research be pilfered by foreign actors. So it's a major project. Only 5 of these projects were selected throughout the United States, and MU, or UMKC's lead, UMKC and MU are one of those 5, and we're very excited about this. Total research expenditures, this is when we have the full fiscal year data, and this is for the entire system. And as you can see, since 2015, our faculty members have contributed so much. The fact that we went from 321 to 621 in that time period, in the 9 years, demonstrates that we are capturing more of the market share. The average growth is 5% throughout the country. We're capturing about 8.5% per year growth. And we need to continue this because we're not satisfied by being at 621, and I believe over the next 5 to 6 years, we can actually break the $1 billion mark. While the numbers are important, it's the impact of that research, whether it's the research that is being conducted by Dr. Friedman or Dr. Caruso on cybersecurity, it makes an impact to not only our community, but our nation going forward. Major grants, we have a lot of major grants, and I don't have time to go through each one of them, but we do have with us Dr. Christy Hosinger, a faculty and also a senior vice provost, and Dr. Michael Pragman, who's a staff member who's contributing to our research and engagement. If I can ask them to stand up. They both received 2 separate grants, one from DESE, K through 12, and one from Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development. So it's a nice, seamless pipeline transition that is geared in their own special way to ensure students' success. So when we talk about student success, we're not only looking at student success of our own students. How do we ensure success of students in K through 12 so that when they arrive on our campus, they're more likely to succeed? So 2 excellent programs. Great job. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Next, we have another project at Mizzou, working with U.S. Department of Education, a nearly $4 million grant, also designed, in this case, to work with rural middle school students and administrators. There are many challenges that rural schools are facing, especially when it comes to subject matter experts that can teach higher end courses, languages, and so forth. And so our focus, being Columbia, being where it is in mid-Missouri, has been to work with improving the quality of rural school education. And Dr. Keith Herman, who's a Curators Distinguished Professor, along with his partner, Dr. Wendy Reinke, another Curators Professor, have developed this project. I also want to show that you could see in parentheses, Next Gen, Mizzou Forward. These are faculty members that were hired through these mechanisms, whether it was Next Gen that began in 2017 or Mizzou Forward that began in 2021. Next, we have a we have Dr. Chad Rose in special education who received 2 separate $3.9 million grant, once again, studying how do we ensure higher levels of student success. And on this slide, Dr. Ron Mittler was hired a few years ago through the MU Danforth Collaboration on Plant Sciences, and Dr. Sherwan was recruited from University of Louisville as Next Gen, and Tyler Smith was a postdoc here that we would have lost to another university, but we hired through Mizzou Forward. Last but not least, we have here Dr. Adam Yoakum, who is benefiting from the investment in the Thermo Fisher Scientific Center of Excellence in Electron Microscopy. We have the best center of electron microscopy anywhere in the Midwest. We were able to attract him and other major scholars, and he just received the ability to study autophagy, meaning, I learned this, how do proteins replicate and modify itself automatically? And I think it's going to be a great project that will have benefits in the future. Philanthropy, we had the end of the year data, and as you can see on top of each of the graphs, we see the goals, whether we met the goals. At Mizzou, we did not meet the goals. At S&T, they doubled, and congratulations, Chancellor Degani. And also UMKC has met the goals, and so has UMSL. And as we learned from discussions with the curators, revenue generations in all sectors and philanthropy has to be a major piece of that, is going to be a priority for us moving forward. Any questions thus far? No? And in terms of UM's leadership appointments, we're hiring outstanding faculty and staff, but also outstanding administrators. And the only one person who was able to make it is Dr. Christine Getz, who now serves as the Dean of the Graduate Studies at UMKC. Dr. Getz, if I can ask you to stand. She didn't move very far, but she did come from an AAU institution, University of Iowa. We're getting outstanding people into our university. So thank you, Dr. Getz. Thank you for your leadership, and that concludes my remarks.
Thank you, President Choi, for your presentation. Any final questions? President Choi? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We now turn it over to Chancellor Agarwal to update us on UMKC.
Thank you, Curator Winokur. You talked about momentum, and we're going to talk about momentum here because we believe we do have momentum. So 5 years ago, we created a strategic plan for ourselves. It is a 10-year plan, and this past year, we refreshed the plan after we took stock of where we are right now. And in some areas, we really blew it out of the water. We had done really, really well, and so we upped metrics for ourselves and raise the bar. In other areas, we still have important work to do. So I'll give you a little, some of the highlights of what we did in 2024. In terms of research, we're on the brink of achieving the Carnegie R1 research status. From 2018 to 2023, we more than doubled our research expenditures and almost quadrupled the total research and sponsored project grants, and I'll show that to you in a minute. Based on the proposed criteria from Carnegie, we believe that we are ready to get the R1 status as soon as 2025, and it will put us on the same tier of elite universities as some of the surrounding flagships that we have here. But we also are raising the bar for ourselves, for a higher bar for grant proposals and total research awards, and increased goals for patents, inventions, research publications, and licenses. So as you can see from this graph, on the left-hand side, you see the line in blue, and that's sponsored awards, and you see the amount that has gone up, that's in millions. And then expenditures, that is what we report to NSF, and those have been going up every single year. But you cannot get those numbers unless you write more proposals and you ask for more money, and that's what you see on the right side. Grant proposal dollars in millions are in green, so we have been asking more and more for more and more resources, and the number of proposals have gone up too. So our faculty are working really, really hard on this. In terms of what are the main areas of research, now, granted that we will support the work of every faculty member who's doing research and scholarship, but there's certain main areas that we intend to focus on. Electromagnetic radiation energy, advanced and critical materials, unmanned platforms, we already do a lot of work from drones, and then AI, cybersecurity, and data science that we do a lot of work on, and digital humanities. Now, especially for the first four, the areas of application for those will be focusing on healthcare and defense. So that's where that research will focus. And why are we so excited? I think we have the right leadership in place to lead these research efforts. Somebody who couldn't be here today is our newest addition, Dr. Sumit Dua, who just started this past Monday as the new Vice Chancellor for Research, and he's coming to us from Louisiana Tech. Of course, we heard about Tony Caruso, who's also Vice Chancellor for Strategic Initiatives, and has done a lot of the work on unmanned platforms to date, and now is leading the charge, in fact, across the system on critical materials. And now, if you do all of this research, it should end up in new technologies coming out. And then you need to have the pipeline to make sure that those technologies are shepherded through the patenting business and into startups or licenses. And that work already is being done in the city by Maria Myers, who is well known in the city for her work. And she's well known for something known as SourceLink that we can talk about later, but it is a tool that startup companies all across this region use, and now it is actually national, and 60 other cities use it. But it's not just the leadership. The hard work is done by the faculty, and we have outstanding faculty doing great scholarship from the conservatory, Amy Robertson, who's doing research on music therapy on preemie infants, and this is like goosebumps kind of research, because you have early results showing risk of brain bleeds and time on ventilator decreases with music therapy for preemies. Michael Wacker, working at the School of Medicine in St. Joe, is still receiving money from federal sources to keep that rural education going. Farid Nath Abdesalam, Science and Engineering. He's got an NSF grant to study the use of AI to mitigate alcohol and drug abuse. And then Thomas Menis, who is looking at ALS. So outstanding faculty. And then again, as I said, you still have to shore up the other end of the pipeline, which is how do you get technologies out in terms of patents and licenses. And so we are working really hard by hiring a new director, new websites, and then exploring interesting ideas like a research foundation and a research accelerator that may be needed in the future. Now that's on the research side. How about on the student achievement side and the student success side? And that is very, very important to us. We see continued growth in undergraduate enrollment and retention. Undergraduate enrollment was up 3% this year, including about 4.1% in FTC students. Now, this is on top of last year, when we had the largest incoming class of freshmen in our history. So we continue to do well with the undergraduate side. Continuing undergraduate enrollment is up. And now the other exciting description of the incoming class is that last year, 53% of the incoming freshman class was first generation to college. This year, we did better, and it's 57.6% is first generation to college. And we are really, really excited about that. We added 2 new degree programs, undergraduate degrees in biomedical engineering and architecture. The orange on the right side is transfer students, and those numbers are going up as well. Now, having said that, we are doing well with the new enrollments, but we also have to look at retention and graduation rates because we need to make sure that, as President Choi said, we make every student successful. And so in some ways, we have come a long ways from 10 years ago when we were at 69% for retention. We're up to 77%, a little decrease this year to 75. So for the past few years, we have been in the 75 to 77% range. Our target for 2028 is 82. Let me tell you, it's not acceptable to us to just kind of plateau out. We need to be doing better. And the same thing with graduation rates. We've come a long ways from the 44% in 2012, but again, we seem to be plateauing, and that's not acceptable. So the provost and her team have a laser focus on making sure that these numbers will go up. And we are partnering with the National Institute for Student Success, which is out of Georgia State, and they have come in and done a full analysis of ours over a few months, basically a full body x-ray to say, these are your strengths, these are the weaknesses, this is where you work. And some of the playbook they have given us talks about predictive analytics and early alerts, more data to our academic unit so they can make decisions, and then personalized student communication through text, AI, and chatbots. But we will be using all kinds of technology because we really want these numbers to move. We also have some programs that are working really well for retention and graduation rates. The First Generation Ruse Scholars Program with Dr. Christy Holsinger that you met earlier, she's been working on it. These are students who are signing up, who are first generation students, bring them in a week earlier than others, and then a little bit of hand-holding during the first semester, no lowering of standards, by the way, just a little bit more advising. And they end up having higher GPAs than all of UMKC. The retention rates are also higher than all of UMKC. The Men of Color Academy, 97% retention rate. That academy is being led by Athletic Director and Vice Chancellor Brandon Martin that you'll hear from a little bit later. We also have articulation agreements, 2+2 programs with area community colleges that we have just signed. And our partnerships with the sports teams are helping as well. We have partnerships with the Chiefs and KC Current. Actually, all 4 professional teams here, but these are the special ones here. The Chiefs, this picture you see is on the field. The students were honored in the pre-season game this year. You see Clark Hunt there in the pink-red jacket. They also gave the students, in addition to scholarships, these footballs with their names on it. That young lady who does not have a football is actually a provost trying to blend in with the students, but I don't think they gave her a ball at the end. Now, that's all good, but what about the graduate side of it? So on the graduate side, we have a new recruiter, and our domestic graduate applications were up and admits were up this year. But unfortunately, our numbers are still down on that, and a lot of that is coming from lagging international enrollment, which a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, had spiked, like 500 extra students in 1 year. And as those are graduating, we have not been able to replenish them at the same rate. But once again, with the addition of the new dean and the launch of those 8 new PhD programs that you all ratified, I guess, or gave us those programs last year, we think we will be able to increase those numbers as we will have to as we increase the research. So that's on the student side, the research side. How about financial performance and philanthropy? A composite financial index, CFI, looks good. The HLC minimum you see is in the green. We seem to be performing much better than that. What is considered financially stable is at 3, and you see we have outdone ourselves on that. The operating margin, if you go back 5, 6 years ago when I first joined, We were operating in the negative. We have gone up. And now the downward slope is intentional because we need operational funds, not just funds to put away as margins, so that we can grow the institution and do our students' support services. So our target is going to be every year between 1 and 2, and we will deliver on that. We also have had a very significant increase in reserves, almost double since the time I came here, and our net assets also have doubled in the same time period. The record year in giving. So UMKC Giving Day, which is an open day for people to give, 4 or 5 years ago, all we collected on that day was about $6,000, which was not very exciting at all. Year before last, we did about 100,000 or so. And this last year, all of a sudden, we did $500,000. So you see the trajectory of how quickly it's going up. And that's because I believe people are getting excited about what's happening at UMKC and are saying, I'm going to contribute. Our UMKC Foundation President, Amanda Davis, has done an incredible job, but she's also restructuring her staff and gearing up to launch a $500 million capital campaign, a comprehensive campaign next year. The numbers that we have down there, if you see, there's a little difference there between what President Choi had shown for 23, and these are numbers that were corrected very, very recently in the past 2 weeks. So actually they had a big grant from Kaufman that they had not included. So we are doing well in this area. And then advancing facilities. You can have student success and you can have research, but if you do not provide the right kind of facilities, those things will not last for long. So we need to provide our students and the faculty and the staff with the outstanding facilities so that they can continue to do their work. Most of you, the board was here for the groundbreaking yesterday, $145 million project, very exciting for us. The School of Medicine is also getting its own building in St. Joseph. That's a $14.5 million project. The little inset you see on the top right is what the building looked like as of yesterday. The construction there is being done by a local company out of St. Joseph, and the construction here on the big building is being done by a local firm here, McGowan Garden. So all those 145 million or 14 million are going to go into the local economy, at least most of them. Downstairs, you might have seen things boarded up. We are taking away a cafeteria, which is an old-fashioned cafeteria in the Atterbury building, to more of a food court kind of style. And this will open in this building in 2025. This is much closer to where all the residence halls are. The current cafeteria is at the other end of the campus. Student success, all first-gen rules, advising, career services, MOCA, all these programs that are doing really, really well are actually working out of back offices disparate all over the campus, and it's difficult for students to locate them. So we are going to concentrate all our student-facing services in 2 areas so that the students know either here or there. One of them in the top floor of the library. That work is already going on for renovations, should be ready by next year. Once that is ready, then we will go into Atterbury and start renovating there. 51st Street, which is a street that goes right from the corner of this building up going east from here. That is, it has been a city street with traffic on it, and it kind of bisects the campus. And so this is where Molly Agrawal learned bureaucracy. I thought we could get the street done in 6 months or a year. Vacated by the city, it took us 4 years. But next week, we will be blocking up the street, and then we'll start working on it to make it, with planters and chairs and paint on the street and things like that. So campus will look very different when you come back next fall. And then lastly, faculty, staff, and students. That's very important, that the excellence, that we provide opportunities for them to excel. CAFE, the Center for Advancing Faculty Excellence, has been doing great since its inception in 2021. It's fully staffed now with a full-time director. There have been 400 or so unique faculty engaged, more than 1,500 hours of training. This is faculty training faculty, how to teach better, how to write better research grants, and this professional development. And that's been going really well. Faculty honors, we talked about Clancy Martin. His book hit the bestseller list. He was interviewed for CBS Sunday Morning. He also got the Thomas Jefferson Award from the system. Gail Levy, Governor's Award for Excellence in Teaching. Chen Yi in a conservatory is just outstanding. Not only is she a member of the National Academy of Arts and Letters, which has only about 400 members at any one point in time. If you go back, any author that you can think of, a musician well known from the US, even hundreds of years ago, is part of that academy. Recently, she was elected to the International Society of Contemporary Music, alongside, which has members like Aaron Copland and Stravinsky. She's only the 4th woman to ever get there. Of course, Janet Berkeley Patton, who's been doing tremendous work within the community area, community medicine, won the AAMC Spencer Foreman Award for community engagement. Just outstanding folks. Staff too. Staff are the glue that hold the university together, keep it running. Ali Friedman, Sabrina Monsees in Human Resources won a national recognition at the annual meeting of the Minds for their work in mental health. Onika De Leon, Casey Bauer from nursing, continue to volunteer their time for dental care. And then Madeline Fox was named to the national list of rising stars in public media. So you see good cross-section all across different parts of our campus. And then, most importantly, our students. Liberty Gladden, the computer science students, a highly competitive Boren Scholarship will take her to Korea. And we met Genesis Ventura Amaro earlier with her work with teaching. And then these are pharmacy students, Hannah Kemper, Claire Vogel, and Riley, who won a national competition amongst all schools of pharmacy, amongst 100 teams. And then, last but not least, athletics. We continue to do well in athletics. We are Division I. Last year in our conference, we had 4 coaches of the year. Jess Smith for women's soccer, Christy Posey volleyball, JW for golf, and Marvin Menzies for men's basketball. We won the championship for the golf. We were seeded 2nd in the league for the first time in men's basketball. Unfortunately, we couldn't close it out. Hopefully this year we'll do it. And then in volleyball and men's soccer, we played in the finals. Unfortunately, couldn't close it out. But as you can see, year by year, we're inching forward toward winning the conference. So, Chairperson Winokur, you talked about momentum. I would say UMKC has momentum. Great. And I better finish here because I know my good friend Mo Degani is timing me and he may disqualify me. I'm officially done, Mo.
No, well done. I think we agree. I also want to compliment you, not only on the event yesterday, I think I say this to you every time I see you. You are so much a part of your community in Kansas City. It really stands out. I mean, you truly, I know one of your taglines is to be Kansas City's university. You really are. So, well done.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions before Chancellor Agrawal gets seated? Okay, look, you did that thorough of a job. No questions. Well done. Okay. Now we have the consent. Now we have the consent agenda. Are there any questions from the board regarding the consent agenda items? Hearing none, may I have a motion and a second from the board to approve the consent agenda as presented in your materials?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Curtis Singfield, I now turn it over to you for the Academic Student Affairs Research and Economic Development Committee meeting.
Oh, thank you. This morning, the committee has one information item, the UMKC's annual intercollegiate athletics report, and one action item, a request to approve the new MU strategic plan. So we will begin with the UMKC intercollegiate athletics report. Athletic Director Dr. Brandon Martin is here today to walk us through UMKC's athletic program and to answer questions. Dr. Martin, you may begin.
Thank you and good afternoon. Just want to acknowledge with some special thanks to President Moon Choi, our chair, Robin Winokur, the entire board, Most importantly, I would like to acknowledge my boss and our leader here at UMKC for the continued support, confidence, and direction that he's provided me and my team in athletics, but most importantly, the student athletes. And I just want to say thank you for that, Chancellor. Our mantra and philosophy in athletics is intentional excellence. You know, we talked, when I first came here 5.5 years ago, we talked about comprehensive excellence. And right now, given all of the landscape in college athletics, some of the fluidity, some of the changes, we've kind of pivoted off of that and talked about intentional excellence. And that really dovetails into the things that we can control. And the things that we can control is the way that we deal with our students on campus, the way that we communicate with faculty, the way that we deal with our staff, the way that we deal with our administration, the way that we deal with Kansas City. And so our staff, our coaches, and student athletes have rallied around that, and it's been a big success. To transition, just to provide an overview of our department, we have 14 Division I sports. We have roughly about 240 student athletes. You can see it right there on the screen. 35 of our student athletes are international, and they've been really a joy to work with within our department. We can anticipate, you see the 215 scholarship student athletes, we can anticipate more scholarship student athletes given the new NC2A legislation on roster limits and scholarships that's henceforth. And so just wanted to point that out. Our athletic success, Chancellor Agarwal alluded to it. We had an outstanding competitive season. You know, our men's golf team, they've won our conference 2 years in a row, advanced to the NC2A championships. Our volleyball team won the regular season championship. Men's basketball placed second, but we had 3 of our student athletes who were recognized from the Summit League, as well as Coach Menzies, as you can see, winning Coach of the Year. This is a big deal for us. This is a big deal for us to have 4 Coaches of the Year. Jessica Smith in women's soccer, our soccer team is off to a great start. We just beat a really, really good team in Tulsa. They're off to a 4-0 start this year, and so we're delighted about that. Coach Posey and her team is off to a good start, and we're all excited about men's basketball. Just one highlight on that is that we are 1 in 12 Division I men's basketball programs who were able to retain the entire starting 5, which was a big deal. And all of you know, we don't have a ton of NIL money to spend, but we were able to retain these student athletes, which is great momentum, not only going into non-conference play, but also into our conference play, where we truly believe we have a chance to bring home the trophy. In golf, J.W. Vandenborn has been here. He's a pillar of our department. He's been here, and he won back-to-back golf championships in the Summit League, and we're proud of our golf student athletes. Transitioning to academic success, this is a point of pride for us, and this is special kudos to Ursula Gurney, who is a tireless worker with our student athletes. She's been on campus for 15 years. She knows what we want to get done. She's done an outstanding job with our student athletes. You can see 13 out of 14 teams got above a 3.0, and you might have a question, well, what team did not? And that was men's basketball. But let me tell you their GPA. It was a 2.94. Okay, and so Coach Menzies is definitely doing a good job in that respect. Our spring success, 3.37, 3.28. Our student athletes are working hard. Our student athletes are engaged in the entire campus. Our student athletes take a lot of pride in being involved in the Kansas City community. But I do want to give special credit to the type of student athletes that we are bringing to the university. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've been successful. If you look at our GSR, we have a 91% GSR rate, and our Fed rates of 67%, and compared to campus, which is 55%, which I think is noteworthy in itself. Financials, we know that we're in a different landscape and a different environment, and the cost of not only doing business, but the cost of competitive excellence has elevated. And I just want to highlight some of the areas where we've made some strategic investments. You know, one is in staffing, having enough staff, especially in the flagship sports where we feel we can compete. We've done that. We've provided additional scholarships, especially in sports like men's and women's soccer, where we feel like, you know, we should be contenders, not only in a Summit League, but nationally. We've also been very aware of making sure that in sports medicine, we have enough athletic trainers. And that's one where we've had to invest given the growth of the amount of student athletes we have, and not only having the athletic trainers, but having the ones who are really good has been important for us. Sports performance, making sure that we have strength and conditioning coaches that are on board, and in meals. You know, it's important that we feed our student athletes, and we don't have a training table. Unlike a lot of other Division I schools, we don't have a training table. It was kind of humbling for me. Yesterday we had a head coaches meeting, and there were some of our coaches, you know, not so much in some of our flagship sports, that shared that, hey, you're on the road, you know, we feed our student athletes McDonald's, just because it's important that we stay within budget. And I'm not sure that's the best thing, but in terms of the commitment of some of these coaches, that's something that they've done to make sure that they stay within budget. So we are working tirelessly in that area. Elevation and forward movement, we did develop and execute an impact plan for excellence. And what that is it's not truly a strategic plan, but it is a plan for this fluid environment. This is a plan for 18 to 24 months to give the student athletes, give our coaches, give our staff direction on where we need to focus. And I just want to highlight where those focus areas are. Of course, it's going to be on the student athlete experience, competitive excellence, brand elevation, and community engagement, making sure that we have a positive culture and resource growth and revenue generation. And so we work with MRJ and Associates, with Mike Alden and his team on that, and they did a splendid job, and we've been definitely dedicated to that. Our investment in external staff. We have 3 rock stars in external. We had some young, hungry people that we had to make sure that they didn't leave, especially during basketball season. And so we've made some investments to make sure that they stayed on board. The brand relevance and visibility, we have some creative things in the hopper to make sure that people not only see our logo, see our visual identity, but make sure that they want to engage in what we do. Buy a ticket, be part of our Brew Athletic Fund, but be a part of our family. And all of that is all under our mantra, as I began the presentation, of intentional excellence. And so I was told that I had about 2 minutes for this, so I tried to get through as much as I could in that. And I just want to open it up for any questions or any thoughts that all of you might have about athletics.
Thank you for that report. So are there any questions from the committee or any member of the board?
I was just going to comment, it's been really fun to watch how your programs develop, so great job.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good job.
All right, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Next, we will review, sorry. Next, we will review and consider for approval the new strategic plan for the University of Missouri at Columbia. Dr. Matt Martins, Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs at MU, is here to provide a brief presentation and answer any questions. Dr. Martins, you may begin.
Good afternoon, everybody. I appreciate the opportunity to share Mizzou's updated strategic plan. Our time is limited, so I'm going to jump right into it. So I want to start by providing an overview of the process that we used to develop this plan. So about a year ago, we established 5 subcommittees of faculty, staff, and administrators who submitted initial recommendations for new and revised strategic goals in November of 2023. Leadership, including myself and President Choi, reviewed these initial recommendations and finalized an initial first draft of strategic goals and strategies. And a key principle that we really focused on was having clear, tangible, measurable, defined outcomes for our strategic goals. This has not always been the case in prior strategic plans at the University of Missouri, and without clearly defined goals, it's not really possible to track your progress towards your strategic initiatives. So after we put this initial first draft together, we received additional feedback from important constituent groups, including the initial subcommittees, the faculty council, Curator Singfeld, reviewed and provided input, and you have this strategic plan in front of you today that was the result of that process. So our strategic plan has 3 broad themes which align with what I believe are the 3 core purposes of the university: promoting student success, elevating high-impact research, scholarship, and creative works, and fostering meaningful outreach and engagement. And so then within each one of these themes, we have strategic goals, and then there are broad strategies and then tactics and initiatives which are aligned to each of our goals, and all the details are, of course, in the full plan that you should have in all your materials. So, our first theme is student success, and we have strategic goals associated with recruitment and enrollment. These include increasing the size of our new undergraduate student class, including both first-time students and transfer students, from 7,200 to 7,500, increasing the total number of graduate and professional students from 7,200 to 9,000, and increasing the number of online students who are enrolled in a degree program from 5,500 to 7,000. We also have strategic goals related to retention and graduation. All of these have a target date of 2030, increasing our 4-year graduation rate from 58% to 66%, increasing our 6-year rate from 75% to 82%, increasing our first-year retention rate from 93% to 95%, and improving our career success rate from 95% to 98%. As President Choi noted earlier, some of these rates are extremely high, particularly our retention rate and our career success rate, and they are as good as any of the top universities in the country, but we think we can improve on them. 2 other goals that we have related to student success include achieving a 100% participation rate of our graduating seniors in at least 3 high-impact educational practices. These are things like study abroad, undergraduate research, internships, and practica. This is important because we know that these types of activities are important precursors of graduation, of career success. So we want all of our students to engage in these activities. And we want to increase the number of undergraduate and graduate students who are applying for prestigious external awards from entities like NIH, NSF, major foundations, from 30 per year to 100 per year. And some examples of the strategies, initiatives, tactics that we will employ to achieve these goals. Some of the initiatives are ongoing. Some are initiatives that we'll have to start from scratch, but they include things like establishing the Mizzou 101 course to help students transition to Mizzou, which aligns to our strategies related to enhancing student experiences, establishing an emergency aid policy, which aligns to strategies involving supporting financial wellness among our students, and then implementing the STELIC academic pathways mapping, which is going to help advisors working with our students identify multiple degree paths for our students in a much easier way than they can right now. Next, we transition to specific goals related to high-impact research, scholarship, and creative works. The first 4 goals are aligned with the 4 Phase 1 metrics that the AAU uses to evaluate institutions for membership. So it is obviously critical that we continue to improve our outcomes in these areas. We want to increase our total research expenditures from $485 million to $700 million. As President Choi showed earlier, we have seen a dramatic increase over the past 10 years on this metric, but we're going to have to do more to keep up with the other institutions that are also in the AAU. We want to increase the average number of books per year published by our faculty from 40 to 60, increase the total number of faculty with highly prestigious awards from 52 to 100, increase our citations in the past 5 years of our faculty from 164,000 to 200,000, increase the percentage of externally funded graduate research assistantships from 60% to 85%. So what this means is that we want the vast majority of our research assistantships, particularly in those areas where there is significant funding, to be covered by external sources. This frees up internal resources for other important internal initiatives. We want to secure 5 new federally funded research centers on campus. This would double the number of research centers that we have. And we want to increase the number of annual patents filed per year from 67 to 100. Thank you, Curator Sinkfeld, for that suggestion. So some example strategies that we have in this area include continuing to identify priority hiring areas on an annual basis, which we already do, coordinating resources for large-scale interdisciplinary research proposals. Your big proposals like center grants from NIH or large grants from NSF often require faculty research expertise from a wide array of domains, and so we really need to have more initiatives that help coordinate those types of proposals, and then holding regular trainings and workshops for our faculty, for our graduate students, for our postdocs, that will help them be more successful at securing external awards. And then finally, we have strategic goals related to extension and engagement. So our first goal is to increase the overall total number of contacts with our extension and engagement programming from 1.2 million per year to 1.5 million per year. We want to increase our engagement with the agriculture community specifically, increasing our number of individuals who are engaging at extension events from 21,000 per year to 27,000 per year. We want to increase the number of participants who are in our continuing education programs offered by extension and engagement from 12,000 per year to 15,000 per year. We want to increase the number of businesses served by our entrepreneurial program from 300 to 350 per year. We want to increase the number of counties that are implementing the Digitally Connected Communities program from 8 to 20. Increase the number of faculty who are engaging in our communities in terms of disseminating their research outcomes in a way that directly benefits Missourians from 250 per year to 350 per year. Establishing 2 new extension sites per year in rural Missouri that'll be able to deliver healthcare and telehealth, and establishing at least 24 new K-12 partnerships for in and after school initiatives. And so hopefully you can see in the extension and engagement space, our goals encompass all of the areas that extension and engagement contributes to our state: agriculture, healthcare, economic development, and so forth. And so finally, example-specific outreach and engagement strategies include increasing support for agri-technology testing, which is critical for continuing to support our agricultural partners throughout the state, increasing the number of Show Me Echo programs, which is a wonderful program that helps train providers throughout the state in a variety of different healthcare areas, which will have an impact on improving community health, and implementing the Digital Ambassador program throughout the state. So I'm very excited about this strategic plan. I think it's going to give us a clear, broad direction in terms of goals and priorities. And our strategic goals are broad enough that when you think about an institution like Mizzou that has a wide array of academic programs, extension programs, individuals from all across campus are going to be able to contribute to this plan in some way, shape, or form. So I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to getting started on it, and I'll stop there and open it up to any questions.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the committee or the members of the committee? Well, I just wanted to thank you because I had to read the report in detail, and it was very comprehensive, and I think all of you should see what they're doing.
And your feedback was comprehensive as well.
Sorry about that. Okay, well, thank you very much for coming today.
Well done.
Next, we will review and consider for approval the new strategic plan for the University of Missouri-Columbia. Dr. Matt Martins, Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs. Oh, I guess he already gave this. I guess I didn't turn it over. Okay, here we go. There's no further discussion. May I have a motion and a second from the committee? Those of you remember who are on my committee. To recommend approval of the strategic plan for the University of Missouri-Columbia as presented in the materials.
So moved. Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Are there any abstentions? The motion carries. So, Madam Chair, on behalf of the Academic, Student Affairs, Research, and Economic Development Committee, I move to recommend to the full board that the strategic plan for the University of Missouri-Columbia as presented be approved.
Thank you. A motion is made. Do I have a second from the board?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Only comment I'm going to make, Jeannie, is I now know what the C stands for. It's comprehensive in your name. If none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, Curator Singfeld. We call for a 15-minute recess, but with permission of the board, I know we're trying to catch up on time. Are you all good to keep rolling, or do you need 5 minutes?
Let's go.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you much. Okay, Curator Graves, I turn it over to you for the Finance Committee meeting.
All right, time to wake up. We're going to talk about money. Good afternoon. The Finance Committee has one information item and 5 action items today. First off, Executive Vice President Ryan Rapp is available for questions regarding the fiscal year 2024 investment performance review as provided in your materials. Ryan?
Yeah, so this is a written report only, but did just want to allow if there were any questions.
See none. Let's move on to the action items. Executive Vice President Rapp will present the 2025 strategic dividend distribution and be available to answer questions.
Thank you. So the strategic dividend, just to provide some background and context, it is the money we earn from our working capital, and we call it the general pool. And each year we try to provide a minimum of $15 million. Our target's usually $25 million. And it's to be used by the university for their strategic priorities or to invest in maintenance and repair initiatives. And I think if you look through your materials, you see that's reflected. We're happy to report that this year, largely due to the return of the general pool, The dividend distribution is 66.7 million. I think that's the highest since we've had this in place. And then there's details on what each university plans to do with that. As we've talked about momentum for Mizzou, it'll be invested in Mizzou Momentum, almost $43 million. We detailed and I think discussed that as we submitted our state capital priorities in June that the board approved. So those are things like Memorial Stadium, MER, M&R for Jesse Hall and some of the other facilities on campus. And again, this won't cover all the costs for any of the campus, but it's really to be a catalyst for those projects. So at Missouri S&T, you've got the physics building renovation. You know, that's almost a $30 million project, but this will provide funding to help support that. For UMKC, I think if you read through it, there's a lot of small infrastructure and M&R projects they're looking to cover, which, you know, you may not think that matters, but if we didn't have this funding, we wouldn't get to those things, and they add up over time. Additionally, hoping to use some of the funding to potentially purchase some real estate next to campus. And then UMSL, kind of similar to UMKC, although they've packaged it in one big project, is continue to support their space consolidation, which is about an $80 million project, and then also looking to do, I think, about $500,000 in advertising or sponsorship with the MLS team in St. Louis. So with that, I just tried to provide a high-level overview of what was in the materials. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Ryan, just to clarify, the amount a university gets is based on how much money they have in the pool, correct?
Correct. I should have, it was in the points, but if you're wondering how the amounts are determined, it's not arbitrary. It is based on the amount they have in the general pool, so they get their prorated share.
Any other questions? Seeing none, if there's no further discussion, may I have a motion and second from the committee to approve the fiscal year 2025 strategic dividend distribution for the University of Missouri as outlined in the materials?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those on the committee signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, I'm going to streamline this a little bit in this sense. I'm no longer going to ask for abstentions. If you have an abstention, declare it, and we'll be able to move a little more smoothly. So, Madam Chair, on behalf of the Finance Committee, we move to recommend to the full board that the fiscal year 2025 strategic dividend distribution, as outlined in your materials for this meeting, be approved.
Thank you. A motion is made to approve the strategic dividend distribution. Do I have a second from the board?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. I'm going to follow your example. We'll do that at the beginning of the script next time.
Yeah.
Motion carries. Back to you.
All right, Executive Vice President Rapp is also available for our second action item to answer questions regarding the MU master plan.
Thank you, Curator Graves. We went over, there was a detailed presentation in June, so we're not going to repeat that. I do just want to highlight a couple of things. One would be just the key elements that are in the plan in your material, and then also some of the changes we made based on the feedback we received at the June meeting. I think, you know, a common theme you'll see out through the plan is Mizzou Forward, but also trying to establish parameters for how we continue to honor the iconic elements of the Mizzou campus. So how do we maintain the red and white campus that we have appropriately as we move forward? And I think that's a framework that's really important for us as we start to think about, you know, what buildings are we going to maintain and invest in over time versus what buildings we're going to replace. And we've done a lot of good work in the past in this, but I think this has established some elements for us to consider beyond just, is the building in bad shape and can we move people out of the building? The other thing is, you know, I think it is more than just about buildings. If you look at the master plan, it really is about what are some of the improvements that we can do to the exterior spaces on campus as well as navigation. And then how does the plan look forward to the future? Some of the updates we did make, we're wanting to really, I think based on the feedback we received from the board, was to make sure we were clear on wanting to maintain those iconic buildings on the campus. The other was, I think, you know, there was some confusion by some listening that it isn't about vehicular access or pedestrian safety. It's really about, we understand and modified the plan to say we know vehicular access to the campus is going to remain important, and we need to continue to have pedestrian safety. So we made some of those changes to the plan. We also acknowledge that there are places off of campus that this didn't encompass. So it didn't encompass Discovery Ridge and others, and I think we will take elements of this plan and apply some of that to those spaces, but I think we will have some places where we will want to do master planning for those individual sites. And then the last point, I think there were some questions around the East Campus, and I think the plan is trying to highlight that some of our exterior wayfinding, landscaping standards on the East Campus could be enhanced, and we'll look to do that through this plan. But happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I had one. Thank you for hearing our comments last time, and certainly for honoring our the architecture we all care so much about. What size of student population does this master plan allow for? And that maybe I should have asked when we had the consultants here.
Yeah, I think it continues to support for us to be around that 5,500 to 6,000
Okay.
first time. So, there's not a lot of growth baked into the plan, but certainly no decline baked
Okay.
into it either.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we're going to, instead of voting individually right now, let's go ahead and go to, you've got two more presentations.
sure.
Let's get through those. So the next presentation will be on the mid-year changes to the 5-year capital plans.
Yep. So the capital plans are approved at the April meeting. This is to allow an opportunity for the campuses to make any changes to those plans. Just as a reminder, any new construction project greater than $5 million comes to the board for approval. Any renovation or infrastructure project greater than $8 million does. If we're going to assign debt to a project, no matter the size. In the plan, you'll see what we've included in our 5-year financial plans, and then we have strategic project plans. And those are projects that the campuses are working on, contemplating fundraising, but we haven't incorporated into any formal plan of finance. It's important, though, because I think it gives the board an opportunity to understand what the campuses may be out talking to others in the community about. And then, at the same time, approval in the capital plan doesn't provide for project approval. Each of these projects then has to come back individually for approval from the board. So if you look at the MU plan, really the only changes, and these aren't necessarily new projects for the first two, it was really just modifying the timing for Next Gen MER Phase 1, and then the radioisotope facility that would be funded by some of the state funding we received in a grant from the Department of Energy, and then also adding additional production support to MER. A couple of the other changes is the Memorial Stadium Improvement Project was included in the strategic project plan. We formally incorporated into the financial plan. The same with the Jesse Hall, really looking at tuck pointing and window replacement for that building. We've got a couple of projects we did add to the strategic project plan. One was energy management, looking at our campus cooling and what the future of that might look like. Then we made a couple of changes to the funding sources for the new swine research facility. At MU Healthcare, we only had one thing added to their strategic project plan, and they spoke about it at the Health Affairs meeting, so I won't go in great depth, but it's really about a Callaway County rural health expansion. For UMKC, the KCUR building is been modified in terms of its timing. That was the only change to it. The Olson Performing Arts Center moved from the strategic project plan into the finance plan, and other than that, there were no changes. S&T had no changes to their plan. UMSL, probably the biggest change is at the central utility plant. It was modified. We're potentially exploring the possibility of using geothermal on that campus, similar to what we did in S&T about a decade ago, and seeing if we could find some tax credits available to support that. The only other addition was we received money for the School of Engineering and the Stadler renovation of $15 million from the state, so that was added to the plan as well. With that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions? All right. The last matter for now, Vice President Rapp's going to present on the Children's Hospital Facility, 3rd floor surgery suite.
So this was included in MU Healthcare's capital plan. It's a $50 million project, so it's currently in the new Children's Tower. We wanted space for growth. This would not be for just children. This would be a surgery suite that would be used by the entire health system. It'll have, so we'll build out the full floor. It's currently shell space. It'll be about, I think it's just a little under 30,000 square feet. There'll be 7 ORs in there. And I think with where MU Healthcare is in terms of growth and some of the revenue opportunity that this presents for them, the timing of this project makes sense, and I think they're well positioned to move forward. But happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, the chair would entertain an omnibus motion for these following items. To approve the 2024 MU Master Plan as outlined in the materials of this meeting, to approve the fiscal year 2024 mid-year changes to the 5-year capital plans as outlined in this meeting, and to approve the third floor Children's Hospital Facility, third floor surgery suite as outlined in the materials for this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so the committee has a motion and a second. All those on the committee in favor of those 3 items in omnibus signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. All right, Madam Chair, on behalf of the Finance Committee, we move to recommend to the full board that
You don't have to reread it.
okay, yeah, geez. Those items
Those
be
3
approved.
items.
Yes.
Okay, a motion is made, and I'm also not going to read it, to approve the 3 items that Finance Chair Graves outlined and Vice President Rapp presented. Do I have a second from the board?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries.
All right, Madam Chair, we have one more item, but we will take that up when we reconvene.
Perfect. Thank you, Curator Graves. Curator Holloway, I now turn it over to you for the Audit, Compliance, and Ethics Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Today, we have Interim Chief Audit and Compliance Officer Dina King. She will present the Audit, Compliance, and Ethics Quarterly Report. She's been doing and her team. Dina will review the past quarter, and after the presentation, she'll answer any questions we may have.
Thank you, Curator Holloway. And at Curator Holloway's request, spend a few minutes on some of the successes we've had these past few months.
Good idea.
So one of these successes has been this board approving the structure of this office and the reporting lines. You all have just approved the updated charter, which is what gives us the authority and scope of the work we need to do to help protect the assets of this institution. We've recently have 2 new hires into our office, and we're hoping to have 2 more by the end of the year that will help us do this work. And we are streamlining, I suppose you could say, the audit process with some automation. That should be done by the end of November. So moving forward, slides. Thank you. Okay, next slide, please. So just a brief summary today of the activity of this office. We are now in the new fiscal year, so that's why there's so much blue up there. We haven't started a lot of the work we've done yet, but we are making progress. So we've had 1 audit completed since the last meeting, and we have 6 in process. Hopefully we'll report on those at the next meeting. We've had 3 investigations, and the primary report we have today is on the follow-up work. So next slide, please. So twice a year, we come to you, next slide, with the follow-up work we do. So the work we do is basically to look at the processes and procedures of high-risk areas at the university. And what we want to do then is when we have findings where there's weak areas, we want to basically go in and re-audit to make sure that those gaps have been closed. So since our last meeting, we've had 24 action items due, some updates. We've had some items completed, some items extended, and we've had some items closed. So this is a summary of the work that's been done since that time. Really brief. Any questions? So,
Any question for Dina? I would like to add that I appreciate all the work, and I have a question. As you go about these audits, And how does management receive your,
Findings.
you're nosing in on their business?
Management's been very
Okay.
helpful. And a lot of them, we have one coming up, actually, where the manager's very excited to have us come in because we're going to help them see what it is they need to be doing. So we've had very good reception from management in the work. And when we have findings, they're very anxious to get them closed. So,
Yeah, hopefully you'll validate what they have been doing.
Yeah.
And if there's a way to tweak it to make it a little bit better, they'll
Yes.
listen to that too, and it'll be best for everyone.
exactly, and that's the goal. So,
Thank you.
any more questions? Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Curator Holloway. Curator Fry, I turn it over you to the Governance, Compensation, Human Resources Committee meeting. I know you have written materials. I didn't know if you had any other comments other
No
than that.
comments.
Perfect, thank you so much. Curator Williams cannot join us. Health Affairs Committee met last Friday. A written report is available in the materials. Were there any questions about the materials? All right, we will move on. Curator Blitz, are we ready for your part, or do we need 5 minutes?
No.
Ready? Well, that's what I'm looking for, our speaker.
They're right outside the door.
The Intercollegiate Athletic Committee of the Board of Curators. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go.
That I hate, but I was trying to cook it. Okay.
Yeah, here comes Laird now.
Let me
The,
Let me just announce so they know, remember, Curator Blitz, this is the Mizzou Intercollegiate Athletics Special Committee meeting, and turn it over to you.
The Intercollegiate Athletic Committee of the Board of Curators has one informational item. It's a prelude to a vote on the improvements to Memorial Stadium in the amount of $250 million. As Curator Winokur mentioned earlier, the largest investment we've made at the university. Our great new fantastic athletic director, Laird Beach, is here to give you the details on it. Go ahead, Laird.
Thank you, Curator Blitz. Like Brandon, I want to start off by saying thank you to the board for your leadership, for your trust and vision with this project. I don't want to get too far ahead of it, but I feel pretty good about where this is going, and I am excited. President Choi and all of our other university leadership, appreciate all your help and support as well. I am just going to make a best effort at getting us back on track. I'm going to be really efficient with my
We're
comments.
only 4 minutes behind. You're in good shape.
Okay, all right, then I'll try to make up that.
You could be inefficient.
There you go. Chair Winokur mentioned the word momentum earlier. She talked about how we can't overuse it. She was nice enough to leave out that that was actually following a comment that I made that maybe we're overusing that a little bit. And then our fellow friend pointed out that you can only use the word when you got it. And that is absolutely the case. I wanted to point out a few quick fall highlights. We are nearing a season sellout. We are predicting a season sellout. Really excited with just one game that's short of that being our last home game against Arkansas. That'll extend our streak to 12. It'll be the longest streak since 1978. We are 2-0, as you all know, ranked 6th in the country, and literally have statistically the best defense in the country. Brady Cook also passed Blaine Gabbert as number 6 all-time in passing yards. Our other sports are getting underway as well. Volleyball has its first home matches here this weekend. Coach Dawn Sullivan is coming off her Coach of the Year award from last year, where she guided us to the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2020. And our men's and women's cross-country team started off strong. Women actually outscored Arkansas, number 12 Arkansas, and they host another meet here towards the end of the month at Gans Creek. If you haven't been out to Gans Creek, it's an impressive project that was accomplished in concert with the city of Columbia, and where we'll actually be hosting the NCAA Division I championships here in 2025. I know that you all recognize the importance of the Memorial Stadium Improvement Project based on all the conversations and discussion we've had to this point. I did just want to take a moment to point out that we're not alone. I think as we move forward with all of the change in college athletics, it is important to recognize that many others are investing as well. In fact, Tennessee, Florida, the college across the border, Vanderbilt, Florida State, and Penn State have all announced projects at or above the investment level that we are moving forward with our project. So it is important that we take this on, that we move it forward, not only in this time in college athletics, but because of the momentum we have and positioning us for our future. I also wanted to take a moment. I know everybody is very well aware of the north end part of the project and the impact that will have. That's got a lot of attention, a lot of renderings, and a lot of reports about the impact it will have. But in addition to that, this will impact all of our fans. So we have elements of this project, including lighting, concourse restrooms and concessions, wayfinding, ribbon board. We're going to be working towards Wi-Fi improvements, other things that are really going to impact the fans across the board. So this will truly be a transformational project for Memorial Stadium and really modernize our football experience. And there's a lot of reasons and a lot of things to be excited about. The one that I am excited about is, with your approval, we will be moving forward with an official groundbreaking at that last game versus Arkansas on November 30th. So hopefully that motivates a few more people to buy those last remaining tickets and show up and see that important event happen on Saturday, November 30th. We are super excited about the project, excited to get rolling. We do also recognize that we have a lot of money to raise. We are moving forward with good faith, and we are having a lot of really good conversations with the Mizzou faithful, but we do need them to say yes and support us philanthropically with the project. We are confident that, particularly given the momentum we have and the success of our football program, those incredible seats that we're adding are going to sell fast, but we need our folks to purchase those and to support our project. So with that, and after the groundbreaking, we will work through the 2025 season and be done by the 100th anniversary of our football stadium in the fall of 2026. Any questions?
Go ahead, President
Thank
Choi.
you. If there are no questions.
Curator Blitz,
Did you
President
have
Choi wants to make a comment.
Just want to make a comment. I see that Gabe and Eli are here. Mizzou football's 2-0, and Kansas lost to Illinois last week. Just want to make sure you know that.
Appreciate you always being able to point that out. That's fantastic. Anything else?
If there are no further questions, thank you, Laird. That's
Thank you
the
all.
information.
Okay, thank you, Curator Blitz. Thank you, Athletic Director Veach. Curator Graves, I now turn it back to you for the continuation of the Finance Committee meeting.
All right, call Ryan Rapp back up. Executive Vice President Ryan Rapp is available to answer questions you may have regarding the Memorial Stadium Improvements Plan as outlined in your materials.
Thank you, Curator Graves. There's a resolution in your materials for your consideration. I think Athletic Director Veach highlighted a lot about the project, but happy to answer any questions you might have in regards to the resolution.
Any questions for Ryan about this? All right, if you'll suffer a very short personal indulgence of mine, I think that
You should.
Fro Field is a magical place to a lot of Missourians. And I can tell you that when I was a very young boy, riding in a combine 4.5 hours away from Columbia, the first time I viewed Fro Field was in my imagination. I can remember Bill Wilkerson, the sonorous voice of the Tigers at that time, talking about playing Colorado on a beautiful October day, and the flags were blowing in from one direction and out another direction. And I thought, I want to go to college wherever I can be close to that place, because that sounds really cool to me. And it captures the imagination of our alumni. I think President Choi, I think your job's a little easier when we're winning, and I'm just really happy that we've come to this day, and we see the amount of money we're committing. But the truth is, not just this board, but few boards past. For 10 years, we've been committing. We've built the indoor facility. We did the south end zone. And so this is just a continuation of an emphasis that I think is important. It's only one thing at the university, and certainly other things are in many ways more important, but it does capture the imagination. So I'm glad we've come to this moment. And if there's no further discussion, I'd like a motion and a second from the committee to approve the resolution for the Memorial Stadium improvements as outlined in your materials.
So moved.
Second. All right, we have a motion second on the committee. All those in favor signify
Can
by
we
saying
do
aye.
a roll call on this, Curator Graves?
Yeah, let's do well, this is just the committee at this point.
We'll just do it for both.
Okay,
Let's bend to the moment.
Okay, all those in favor, we're going to have a roll call vote on this. If you could call the roll.
Curator Blitz,
Yes.
Curator Fry,
Yes.
Curator Graves,
Yes.
Curator Holloway.
Yes.
The motion carries.
All right, Madam Chair, on behalf of the Finance Committee, we move to recommend to the full board that the resolution for the Memorial Stadium improvements as outlined in the materials for this meeting be approved.
Thank you so much, Curator Graves, and thank you for sharing your personal reminiscence. A motion is made to approve the resolution of the Memorial Stadium improvements. Do I have a second from the board?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Curator Lehman. Valerie, may we have a roll call vote of the full board?
Curator Blitz,
Yes.
hold on just a second. Curator Fry,
Yes.
Curator Graves,
Yes.
Curator Holloway,
Yes.
Curator Cruzen,
Yes.
Curator Lehman,
Yes.
Curator Sinkfield,
Yes.
Curator Winokur,
Yes.
and Curator Williams is absent. You have all votes in favor.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Madam Chair, this concludes the business of the Finance Committee.
Thank
A
you,
round of applause for
Yes.
that, please.
And for all the former the curators emeritus who are no longer part of this board, I hope we all take a time to reach out to those individuals who are committed to helping us figure out different ways to brand and elevate our university. President Choi, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce our special guest today, SEC Commissioner Sankey. Your turn.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we're also very pleased to have with us today SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey. He has led the SEC since 2015, and he brings a big picture approach to his position, always thinking ahead of the curve to ensure that the SEC is maintained as the most important conference that we have in the United States. And the success of SEC, especially in football, has been undeniable. The 6 of the top 7 teams are SEC members. As college athletics undergoes transformations that we can't imagine at this point, we know that we have a leader that's going to guide us to ensure that our position is going to be strengthened as part of SEC. So, Commissioner Sankey, welcome to Kansas City, SEC country.
Thank you, Chancellor Choi. It's good to be with you. And as someone who traveled to the city any number of times to the old airport, when I exited the airplane and saw what's been built, it was awesome. So I'm just going to, as we talk about facilities, recognize something that is not directly under my responsibility, but was most enjoyable. Chair Winokur, thank you for the invitation today. It's good to see you again, and thank you to Chancellor Choi for extending the invitation and his outreach to me to do so. I don't know if you're aware, but Chancellor Choi is now one of the more senior presidents or chancellors in our conference. As things have changed in those campus leadership positions, we appreciate his enthusiasm, his engagement, his wisdom, his ability to ask insightful questions, and that's recognized through his service as a member of the SEC Executive Committee. And that's particularly important today as we navigate really a fascinating set of challenges where in some ways we're working on a decade or decades worth of change in a matter of months or years. And that shouldn't be a point of concern. We've dealt with uncertainty over the last 5 years in any number of ways, but it caused me to think back to 2011, really 2010, when the Pac-10 at the time reached out to 6 members of the Big 12. There was this effort to create a 16-team league then, created disruption movement. At that point, we've moved forward a year. That kind of bubbled, even though there had been some change. Texas A&M joined the Southeastern Conference, and then under, as we were talking about emeritus members, Chair Erdman, Chancellor Deaton, Athletics Director Mike Alden, the move to the SEC. And throughout what's happening today, I repeatedly offer that in these times of change, there's no better place to be than the Southeastern Conference. And I actually think when you look over the last 5 years, that's abundantly true. The ability to navigate successfully through the COVID experience, to provide young people opportunities. The fact that we had the ability to expand to 16 and really in a visionary way, restoring wrestling in a way to the SEC when Oklahoma and Missouri meet. But also over the last 2 years to observe the decisions made around us. In fact, when I woke up this morning watching movement out west, where we have the ability, and you as a member of the Southeastern Conference have the ability to make our decisions, not to be reacting to others. There's much we have to deal with. I will say, I think the wisdom of what I just heard, the examples from some of your colleague universities, and I didn't know the official title in a meeting for your out-of-state rival, so I learned that this morning. But as you look at what's happening around you, you're reminded that the continuing investment has meaning, and you look at the South End Zone work that was done, the support of the football program. I think the softball stadium that was built on your campus has set up the level of success you've enjoyed, and you're right there now at the top of our league, having played for our championship and our tournament last year. I walked in for the reference to hosting cross country, and you built a facility there that may not receive the notoriety that today's conversation does, but you think about one of your Olympians, Carissa Schweitzer, someone fascinating for me to meet. And so the ability for you to make a decision to continue the growth of your football program, continue to build upon the success experienced last year, but as you look at how you position your university in a changing demographic environment for enrollment purposes, and a changing conference environment where we've established our strength clearly in football by that 6 out of 7 reference, but look at volleyball rankings, soccer rankings when we go into the basketball season. It's been good to become reacquainted with Laird. I first came to know Laird during his time at the University of Florida, and very intentionally on his part, he and I continued a relationship when he had departed and worked at Memphis. We'll just make a couple observations. I'm not troubled necessarily about what's happening in the conference landscape right now because of the strength and the decisions we've made and the leadership provided by our presidents and chancellors. I again think what you're doing here strategically to invest in your football program and your physical plan is an important effort to continue the growth. We, no doubt, all of you are aware, have legal realities across college athletics involving the NCAA, involving a certain number of conferences, but these issues really are about the NCAA. And last week we saw questions raised about a hard set of work and challenges and intention to develop through that hard work a settlement proposal agreed to by defendants and plaintiffs that would be transformational for college athletics, thus a reference for decades of change within months or years. Questions were raised just a week ago in the courtroom in Northern California. We have a responsibility to work on answering those questions, as do the plaintiffs. Whether that can be resolved through the proposed settlement remains to be seen. I've said that in media days. I think a number of people, when you make a statement about a settlement being established, think, well, it's done. We have work ahead, but I'm grateful for Dr. Choi's leadership and participation in that, for our other presidents and chancellors, for the legal counsel we've had that will guide us forward, and I look forward to further conversations today. So thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your membership in the Southeastern Conference. There's no better place to be, and I know we'll be interacting later today. I just will note that I'm yours for about 48 hours until the conclusion of the football game on Saturday, and look forward to attending that game, which ends up being ranked opponents, right? And a couple volleyball opportunities tomorrow. So thank you.
Thank you. We're so glad you're here. Thank you. I want to make sure that my colleagues that have any questions do so, but I'll start. Tell us about Missouri's standing, the University of Missouri standing as a member of the SEC.
We have 16 strong members. We don't have members, we have founding members. I think that's natural. But we don't have members who joined in the 90s, or the 2010s, or the 2020s. We have 16 members. And during our football media days, I was clear to say we're a 16-member conference today, and we'll be a 16-member conference tomorrow. And Chair Winokur, that is intentional to communicate our focus is on our 16. There's not There's not categories. In fact, I've been clear with our presidents and chancellors, is we have some of these outside distractions that are presented to our universities. I have a responsibility for all 16. It's competitive, it's challenging, but it's rewarding at the same time.
So we're a proud member of the SEC. Thank you. Colleagues, questions, comments? Somebody has a question, I'm sure. President Choi?
So Commissioner Sankey, you know, one of the important foundations that you've maintained as the commissioner was to have geographic reality so that best serves our students. And so I just want to say I appreciate that approach. The thought of students traveling from LA to, let's say, somewhere on the East Coast and having to come back and maintain their studies is hard work. So I want to thank you for that really diligent approach that you've used.
And we'll reflect the appreciation. And I'll just go back to when I started as commissioner in October of 2015, and I've shared this story previously. Excuse me, and that is we presented maps of all the conferences. We presented TV demographics of all the conferences and a host of media contract conclusions. And I made the observation to our presidents and chancellors in my first meeting as commissioner that at some point we're going to have to make decisions about opportunities when there's movement around other conferences. Not that we initiate that, but the expectation that there would be outreach. And our ability to work through that in a very tight way, I think was important, provide opportunities. And again, if you look at what's happened since July of 21, some will say, well, we triggered all of this movement. I think that's a misunderstanding. I think what we did is had the opportunity to make a decision that allowed us to make other decisions not to participate in membership expansion that kept us geographically contiguous, high-level universities, restored. You know, we now have 25% of the former Big 8 membership in our league, which nobody would have thought about. We restored opportunities, which was unique as it relates to some of the conference movement. And it does keep us with a relatively, and by comparative, a very tight geographical alignment.
Anyone? Okay, it's going to fall to me again. Okay. When you look at the University of Missouri, when you look at Mizzou, are there unique opportunities that you see that we should be capitalizing on, or you think that we have capitalized on that contributes? We're using the word momentum a lot today. We kind of like that alliteration with Mizzou and momentum and our whole system being University of Missouri system.
I'm going to tread boldly, but you
Please
would
do.
say carefully because I haven't shared this with the chancellor. So I traveled here from Charlotte. We had a meeting about our network. And one of the things you've done is to build a control room where campus productions take place. And you have very intentionally, as a university, provided more learning opportunities for your students through that television production facility. You are known for your journalism school, but journalism is changing in our society right now. And without my prompting or anyone else in the meeting prompting, one of the universities that with intent has been very effective about bringing students into a learning situation through those production facilities, through our SEC network ties, that also provides revenue back to your athletic department. I think that's the kind of unique opportunity that you have and you're already exercising. I would just add, when I go back and think of some of the people that I've met, Carissa stands out just because she was so remarkable in track and field. When I showed up for our cross-country championship that you hosted just a couple years ago, it was windy and it was rainy, it was cold, but a great facility for young people on which they can compete. And when I've watched regionals and super regionals in softball and see what you've built with that facility to attract people and support your coaches broadly, I think that's just a phenomenal thing. And I'm just going to add with a moment that you wouldn't know. We invited Dennis Gates to an outing, if you will, of about 50 future head coaches. And so we've been intentional about trying to develop administrators and coaches. We've been quicker to develop an opportunity forum, we call it, for future administrators, so senior associates, executive associates, deputy athletics directors. This was our first time with coaches, and I was blown away by Dennis Gates' story, blown away by who he is. you know what, last year was a tough year, but as I've watched our program, sometimes you have to bottom out to rebuild. I don't think you should worry about that, given his track record. But I just want you to know how special that was for 2 hours after dinner to keep someone's attention with your story is pretty remarkable, and Dennis Gates is a remarkable person.
So, Commissioner Sankey, we know that there are many headwinds and challenges for college athletics, but I think I know the answer you're going to give. How bullish are you for college athletics?
I debated whether to talk about all this private equity talk and interest from the outside. We have headwinds, but I don't know what enterprise in our culture right now is not facing some type of headwind. Flying up here, was reading about Southwest Airlines changing much of their board, and they've been this beacon of the airline industry. You think about, the outcome of debates, and everybody kind of goes to their corner. So we have headwinds all across the country. There's no place I'd rather be than the Southeastern Conference during a time of turbulence. And I actually take as a compliment that all of these outside investors have an interest in being engaged in college athletics. That doesn't mean we're doing something wrong. That actually means we're doing something right. Now, I don't think we should fall to a bit of the siren's call of just money out there and somebody else is going to solve our problems. I believe we have to solve our problems. It's hard. There's no easy button. We are dealing with complex problems, not simple problems, not complicated problems, but complex problems. And when you study that, they're externally driven. They're based on decisions perhaps made 10 or 20 years ago that limit some alternatives. Some of it's unpredictable. But again, this is the place to be, in the Southeastern Conference and working with people like at the University of Missouri.
Anybody else? Well, just a comment, thank you for coming to watch our Coach Sullivan and her volleyball team and Coach Drinkwitz and his football team. But all of our coaches, when you watch them on social media, they really enjoy being with their colleagues at the SEC meetings. So thank you for lifting them up and create a community that helps them get better, and certainly a chance for us to represent our university. We certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, I had a nice note from Robin. We hosted our women's basketball coaches by Zoom and sent her a pullover. So that's the type of person she is, to reach out and actually leave a voicemail. So thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Sankey.
Hey, Robin, shouldn't we also thank, shouldn't we thank the city for welcoming us?
Well, I can. That's going to be covered a little bit, but Commissioner Sankey, I don't know if you know all the plans we have, and I think that is not part of the press conference later, but the city of Kansas City is doing a resolution this afternoon. Actually, in the city council meeting right now, I got a text from our city councilman that's one of our Mizzou alums, and they are passing a resolution naming Kansas City an SEC city, and this is SEC territory. Additionally, today, they are putting the SEC logo on Union Station, which you might have seen another school had their logo on that recently, who has to play football in a different location than their home stadium. They are flying the SEC flag over City Hall today, and tonight all the city buildings will be bathed in gold in recognition of the SEC and the University of Missouri, Mizzou specifically.
It just means more.
It just means more. Fantastic. Very great. Okay, are there any items for the good and welfare of the board? Okay, let me just do what I really enjoy doing, just a quick comment as we wrap up. Putting on these meetings is not a slam dunk. It takes real work. So I want to thank MVP, all our great friends over there behind the monitors, making sure that we are live streamed, that people can follow us. Thank you to the board office. Valerie, you've been incredible in this role. Thank you so much. And Phyllis. System Communications, John Danker, Christopher Ave, Kelly Weeman, Zach Gorley. At UMKC, the Chancellor's Office, specifically Sherry Gormley. External Relations Division, Kurt Crespino and Troy Lilbo. UMKC Special Events, Laura Rupp's in the back. There is nothing she does not touch at a meeting. Thank you so much. Student Union, Jody Jeffries, and I know this is one of our favorite places to come for meetings because they have such great food. So thank you to the chef. UMKC Police, Thank you to, where is Chief Borgens? There he is. Thank you so much. You take such good care of us and all of your officers. Information Services, Andy Goodenow and team. I know High stayed here all day long to make sure that we didn't have any technology problems. Thank you. And Communication, Ann Spinner and team. So well done, UMKC. And then a final comment, since today is also involving Mizzou Athletics, we thank not only our athletic director, of course, but Marcy Gertens, Eric Morrison, Michael Schroeder, Dave Matter, Allison Aries, and many others. This concludes the public portion of the meeting today. The board thanks everyone for their time and the reports. President Choi and I will be available in about 5 minutes for the press conference. The athletic press conference will begin at the conclusion of the other board business press conference that I'm projecting approximately 20 minutes. I need a motion to adjourn and a second.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Perfect, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
We'll do that formally. All those opposed? I know there's not going to be any. Thank you so much for hosting us, Chancellor Agarwal.